Good afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, economist, and venture capitalist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. Joining Mr. Davis today for a discussion on the top issues of the first few weeks of the Trump administration is Rabbi David Seidemann. Rabbi Seidemann is an attorney, professor, and religious scholar. And now, Mr. Davis and Rabbi Seidemann.
Welcome back. It's great to be back with you. It must be Wednesday, 6:30, and I really look forward to it. You're great. You're the ones that make the program, the podcast, worth what it is. Really worthwhile, that is. So I appreciate your input, your criticisms, your constructive input. Incidentally, criticisms, even if they don't agree with me, add a lot because it gets me to think. I take whatever you say seriously, and it gets me to become much more wise and knowledgeable and not so narrow-minded. So I can't thank you enough for being my cohorts in this weekly meeting we have together. A discussion of the current events. And as I say every week, I'm sorry to bring you the current events because they're always depressing. News is always depressing. It's not news if it's uplifting and good news. Good news doesn't get reported. Somebody could give $100 million to a university and it doesn't make the front page of the Times. Once in a while, if there's no other news at all, which is rare, if somebody gives $400-500 million, it might make one of the columns on the front page. But only bad news. And the worst the news is, if it's just murder, that's an everyday occurrence. If it's even a mass slaughter of human beings, it doesn't make the news because there's more than one every day in the United States. It's unbelievable. So by virtue of what we discuss, it's depressing, and I'm sorry to be the carrier every Wednesday of that depressing news. But that's what current events is. That's what civics is. That's what politics is. That's what, there's been families that have gotten divorced and broken up and they don't talk to each other just because of the difference of opinion, politically or otherwise, that they fight over at dinner. Even my daughters sometimes take issue with some view that I have. And if I criticize that view that they have, they say, "What are you criticizing us for that view? You're the one that brought us up and gave it." So anyway, rather than just jump into the depressing aspect of the program, of the podcast, I like to start off by giving you at least one uplifting idea regarding your happiness. If I could do one role in this lifetime on this world, it would be to make every one of you and every American and every member of my community and every human being on earth happy. So I'd like to at least give you one quick idea on how to be happy. But the best advice I can give you on that score. As you see this book in front of the screen, Happiness Guaranteed or Your Misery Back, and in the bottom of the cover it says, How to Be Happy No Matter What. Get a copy of that book. Everybody who's had access to that book bought it, received it as a gift. And so far, everybody who's ever gotten in touch with me has thanked me and said how much it's helped them, how much it's improved their life. There's a chief executive of a major Fortune 100 company that reads it every single day. He gave it as a gift maybe 200 times already. He says it's the one gift that people really talk to him about it weeks after they get it, months after they get it, as opposed to other gifts where he's pleased if they just call him back and say thank you. Most of them take it in the course of their life, of their interaction with this guy. So he said he liked it so much. One time he walked over to the television. His wife and two boys were watching, and he turned it off. And they screamed at him, Dad, that's our favorite program. What are you doing? And he says, I'm going to DVR it for you. I want you to listen to this one page, because the book is made up of 365 pages, one page for every day of the year, to give you a lift. Ideas how to be happier, humor, jokes, anything that I think might help lift your spirits. As I mentioned, when I get into, we have a tendency, human beings, for some ridiculous reason, always to focus back on events that depressed us, that hurt us, failures, losses. I always say it's similar to if you went to a vacation and you had a miserable time, everything was ruined. You'd never go back there again. And here we have it's a human tendency. I'm not discovering anything new. We suddenly find ourselves depressed, focusing on some memory, some disappointment, some girlfriend we lost, or boyfriend we lost, or whatever. There's a million things that we could be discouraged about. And the way I handle that when I see my mind starting to focus on something like that is I immediately switch gears, and I would urge you to do that instantly. Don't hang around in that space. Just don't. You're the boss. You control what you think. Don't think that. I said if you get into that move, instantly switch. Do something you love. Grab a food that you love, and that'll make you feel better. Make love. Call your best friend and get together. Think about some future event, or talk about some future event with your friend, like we're going skiing in October in Vermont. And read a good book, watch a movie that you love. Anything that lifts your spirits. Get away from that thought. I say for me, what works all the time is when I get into that move, I switch gears. I run down to my freezer in the kitchen. I take out a quart of Haagen-Dazs chocolate ice cream. I put on a bunch of chopped nuts and whipped cream and a cherry. And just preparing it, I get so happy looking at it, preparing it. And when I take the first bite into it, my mood is way up at the highest level. I feel like I'm in paradise. So whatever works for you, do that, but switch right away. Don't hang around. Don't let your mind drag you into such space. So now I'm happy to suggest one thing that's the quickest way that you can be happy or add to your happiness forever. And that is get a copy of this book. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, benefit greatly from it, because every call that I've ever gotten on this book, without exception, has been to thank me for improving the quality of their life, the amount of happiness in their life, the elimination of spending time depressed by having thoughts that really get to your mind. We have so much depression in this country. One of the most popular drugs, profitable drugs, is these tranquilizers and supposedly uplifting, or ones that put you to sleep so you don't even have to think anything. So if you get this book and you shouldn't enjoy it or you don't find it valuable, I'll give you the best deal you can ever think of. On television, they tell you, if you buy this supplement, this whatever, and it doesn't do what we tell you, you can send back the purchase slip and we'll give you your money back and we'll let you keep the supplement and use it or whatever. So my deal with you is even better, as long as you don't abuse it. Because my experience is so far, nobody's taken me up on this offer, and I've been making it for ever since the book came out. And that is, if you buy this book and you don't find it enhances the quality of your life and adds to your happiness and eliminates your bad moods, I will not only, you send me your purchase slip, even if you got it as a gift, if you get a hold of the purchase slip, I will give you not only the amount that was paid for the book, but double the amount. So I say, just don't abuse it, because you can make a lot of money buying 500 books and doubling your money. But other than that, I promise you, and you can still keep the book. So that's the fastest way to make progress. But first, the first and most important thing to remember, and this is the last thing I'm going to tell you, you're the boss, and be the boss. And if you don't act as your boss of your mind, I'm going to come around to your house personally, to your wherever you hang out, and deal with that and make sure that you follow these instructions. Because the one that could make you happiest is you yourself. And nobody can do that as good as you can. And most people are too busy trying to make themselves happy to be concerned about, making you happy or avoiding hurting you or something. Even people that love you often hurt you. So please do that. I don't want to have to come to your house and track down your address. Anyway, I got good news today that we're joined by my favorite co-host, Rabbi Seidemann, David Seidemann. He was a rabbi where we were in Mississippi.
In Mississippi, New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
I see how you can get them confused. They're really close to each other.
No, I thought you
No,
were in
New Jersey.
Tennessee.
No, Lawrenceville, New Jersey.
Oh.
Years ago. Years ago.
He was a beloved rabbi in our community. They had a wake when he left. But now he's very popular in this community. He has a great deal of wisdom, biblical for sure, and otherwise. And he's going to share some of that wisdom with you. And he does it with good humor, although he's often critical of me and I want to throw him out. But he does it with graciously. And what he offers is advantageous, even when he might hurt my feelings temporarily.
Oh, now I feel bad. Not that bad. Not that bad.
It never stopped you.
Never. I've got a mission.
Okay, so
let's get started.
David, I'm delighted to have you back. I appreciate you taking the time. He's so in such demand that it's hard to get him back. So why don't we find out from my producer what subjects occurred this week that we should explore and give our cohorts, our audience, podcast partners, our views, and they can send us their views or
Okay, a lot going on in the Middle East, so we'll focus initially on there. Let's talk about President Trump's proposal for the U.S. to own the Gaza Strip and develop it into the, as he says, Riviera of the Middle East. Is that a good plan? Is it practical? Is there a better alternative?
So I'll tell you this.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'll tell you this. A good deal of what Donald Trump says, he knows will never see the light of day. But he's a fantastic negotiator. And what happens is when a person I know this from doing, being a lawyer, trying to settle a personal injury case or a medical malpractice case or a divorce case. Sometimes you make such an outrageous demand that everybody knows is ridiculous that by the time you come in with your second demand, which would otherwise be considered ridiculous, when you compare it to the first demand, people think, oh, that's realistic. So I really, really believe that in Donald Trump's heart of hearts, he knows that the United States is not going to own Gaza. It's not going to happen. Israel doesn't want it. The Arab nations don't want it. But what he's basically doing is he's telling the Arab countries, look, for 25 years, 75 years, there's been no solution to this problem. Now, 20 years ago, Israel withdrew from Gaza. My wife was there. My wife, I even actually believe, chained herself to a fence in Gaza, in Gush Katif. My wife was there 20 years ago. And we know what happened. It became just a hotbed, a seat of terror. So he knows it's not going to happen. They're not going to own it. But what he's doing is he's sending a message to the Arab world. And I know earlier today he met with King Abdullah of Jordan. He's saying, okay, you don't like my plan? Come up with a better plan. And they're not going to be able to. And when they don't come up with a better plan, Trump is going to say one of two things. Okay, my plan works. We're going to own Gaza. Or he's going to say, look, I put the ball in your lap. Don't come crying to us. Egypt, the amount of money we give to Egypt a year. Jordan, the amount of money we give to Jordan a year. We're talking millions and billions. The money that has been given to the Palestinians, that's how we're going to own it.
And to Hamas.
Yeah. That's how we're going to own it. We're going to own it. We're not going to own the property. We're going to own the situation. And the situation that we're going to own is you're on your own because you don't like my plan. You haven't come up with a plan of your own. The only plan you have is the same plan that hasn't worked over the last 25 years or 75, whether you're going to go back to when we left Gaza or back to the creation of the State of Israel. You have no plan, and you can't keep doing the same stupid thing and expecting different results. So this is Trump at his best. He's a master negotiator. We're not going to own it. Nobody wants that.
I agree with your conclusion. I don't agree with your methodology for getting there. Incidentally, I don't know if we mentioned in the introduction, in addition to being a really fabulous, beloved rabbi, he's a sensational lawyer. So if you need a good lawyer, if you had an accident or you want to have an accident, he'll collect a lot of money for you.
Morty, that was supposed to be an off-the-air discussion. Yeah.
We don't do any commercials. So at least I should.
Do I owe you money now?
I should recommend you as a fabulous attorney.
Thank you.
For the benefit of them, not for you.
Yeah.
For you, it's work. It's more work.
I think
But-
there's two things going on here.
Wait, let me
sure.
address what we were just talking about. Even now, Hamas, from day one, the big problem is, okay, we're going to win. We're going to defeat Hamas. But what's going to be the morning after, the day after? And nobody has come up with any, because Israel doesn't want to go back in there and be enmeshed in this internal war, even between the Palestinians and Hamas, because initially when Israel turned over without any demands or condition Gaza to the Palestinians, it was their expectation that the Palestinians would take it over. But there was a vote, and Hamas won the vote. So they wound up getting control of it. But there was no answer. Nobody wanted to take it over. And the ones that were willing to take it over were objectional either to one side or the other. So he finally came up with a possible solution. It doesn't say if you listen to what he said subsequent to his initial statement, he said Israel will help Israel to gain control of it, and they will take it over to us to
rebuild, yeah.
To rebuild it, because that's what I do well. And that's the solution. We don't want to be there to run it either.
Right.
But we would put in place a new
regime.
A new regime, a new, if we did that in what they're doing now and what they did in Gaza, in Japan or Germany, the Nazis would still be running it, or the Japanese.
Right.
When we won the war, we didn't win the war till we won the peace. And by doing that, we put in our own dictator. For 8 years, there was no election in Japan. They had an election after 8 years, after the Japanese understood that they have to change their views, they have to respect the rest of the world, the United States, and same with Germany. Mm-hmm. It was many years. In Iraq and these others, the minute we won the war, we put in their own lead. They had to let them have elections, and we begged them. We were spending not millions, billions of dollars, and supporting them in every possible way. And then we asked them, please don't put our soldiers, if they committed some wrong or violation, we want to be the ones that try them. And they said, no, we don't want it. They couldn't even cooperate on something as little as that while we let them keep their oil, and we didn't grab their oil or anything. So there was no other solution up to now. This is a starting point, and it gives the others a chance to respond. But so far they won't even take in their fellow fellow Arabs, their fellow Muslims, their fellow religionists. Where's my thing?
King Abdullah today said he's not taking them in, and just in the last hour, Sisi from Egypt canceled his trip to Washington. He was supposed to meet.
Len, would you ask Lordy to bring in that chart that shows what happened to the Jews in all the Arab countries? It's unbelievable that they can absorb all these countries around Israel.
And these are their people.
Yeah.
These are their people. Can you imagine a country with a Jewish community saying, no, we're not taking Jews that survived the Holocaust. We're not going to absorb them into our communities? It's unheard of, but that's an old story.
No, the Jewish people under their religion really demonstrate love of each other.
Right.
The Muslims, unbelievably, inexplicably, every single day kill each other for a simple change in what descendant of one follows one descendant of
Right.
of Muhammad and other. Every day it's not killing Americans, it's not killing Jews, it's killing their own people.
Right. It's not me. It's not my line. I forget who said it, but somebody said, "We kill to live, and
Right.
they live to kill." And it's a big difference. It's a different mindset when you wake up in the morning. What type of society do you want to live in?
Yeah, remember what's her name said? The one woman that ran Israel,
Golda Meir.
Golda Meir. She said, if we put away our guns,
If we lay down our arms, right? If we lay down our arms tomorrow,
arms, there would be
no Israel. If they laid down their arms, there'd be no war.
there would be.
Yeah.
This is the chart I have that shows what happened to the Jewish people populations in the Arab world. In 1948, when Israel was established, there were 851,000 Jews in the adjacent Arab countries: Algeria, Egypt, Iraq, Libya, Morocco, Syria, Tunisia, United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. 851,000. In 58, it was down to 489,000, almost half already. In 68, it was down to 69,000 from 854,000. In 2011, it was down to less than 6,200. And in 2023, less than 4,000 out of 851,000. They were persecuted and forced to leave. And Israel, a tiny country with no natural resources like all these Arab countries have, and oil and so forth, took in all these people. Israel took in a million or more from Russia once the Cold War ended and the Soviet Union broke up. They took in from Arab countries, from these very same countries, over 600,000 Arabs or Palestinians, or what. They absorbed them and made many of them citizens. It's apartheid. Yeah, they don't have the total citizenship that Israelis enjoy. That's because they really vote persistently against things that are good for Israel. But they have the same rights. They come to work every day in Israel. They're not punished in any way that I can determine.
They vote. They vote in the elections.
Yeah. They have members in
the Knesset,
in the
sure.
Knesset. There's not one other country in that of those mentioned that provides the same rights to.
Yeah, you think there's any Jews in the Libyan parliament, in the Egyptian, in the Jordan?
Maybe if they hide the fact that they're
exactly.
No, it's just unbelievable and Israel wants to let them out of Gaza, and they say they can't leave because they have no place to go. What do you mean they have no place to go? They've got lots of places to go. First of all, Jordan is really Palestine. It's made up of the population is at least 50% Palestinians. There was never Palestine. There was never a country like that. There was never a government like that. There was never a Palestinian army, a Palestinian parliament. It's outrageous. And they say, oh, you got to let them live in their homeland. It wasn't their homeland, It's heartbreaking.
It's a nice myth that's been perpetuated.
Yeah,
and it lives on.
When they controlled it, when Jordan controlled it, and Jordan's been a moderate state, not one of the fanatic states, the Christians and the Jews couldn't access the area around the where the Muslims claim is their what do they call it?
Their holy site.
No, what do they call it? Their the top of the where the base of Mikdash was on the top of the
Alaska.
mountain. What?
Alaska? Not Alaska. The Alaska Mosque?
Yeah, but
Al Sharif?
Yeah, what they
Something
call it,
like that.
something
Yeah.
like the star of something. But anyway, they have access to it. They keep the Israelis away from it. And Dayan, in his stupidity, he thought he was doing the right thing. He said, because he won that, and they controlled it, and then the Christians could come, the Jews could come, anybody in the world could come there. Before that, the Christians couldn't visit the route that Jesus Christ took, which is holy to them. They could come all the time, and the Jews come to the what's left of the what's
The temple, yeah.
Yeah, the temple.
The base of Mikdash, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the hostage deal? Do you think that's a good deal for Israel? You think we got bamboozled?
I think what's his name is crazy. He started off saying the right things, like the United States did after Pearl Harbor, and Britain did after the Nazis attacked the countries in Europe. They attacked and didn't stop till they got unconditional surrender and put in their own
Right.
leadership. So do I think it? I think the hostages are holding the state of Israel hostage, because you're saving. If it was my family that was hostage, I would say, save them. I don't care. I love the country, but my kids and grandkids,
Right.
I would save them. But the country can't listen to that because you're tying their hands. So for him to deal with this and delay it and cease fire, there was never another country that would exist after they were attacked to cease fire. Never.
There's an interesting debate in Jewish law whether you can trade hostages for, whether you can give in to kidnappers in situations like this. In the Mishnah, which is the beginning of the oral
More
law,
than giving in to, they're turning over other murderers
right,
that are going to kill many times
right,
the amount we're getting. I mean,
right.
Israel's insane because I don't know if you remember, but was it 40 years ago, 30 years ago, for one dead,
Gilad Shalit in 2005.
one dead
1,027 terrorists we turned over. One of them,
one idea.
Gilad Shalit, one of them was serving, one of the persons that was released was serving 29 life sentences. He was involved in the bombing in the hotel on Pesach, and 1,029. So this is not so clear cut that this is even endorsed by Jewish law. There is huge issues.
One of the people that Israel released, one of the prisoners that Israel released, was actively leading
Yes.
October 7th.
Yeah.
How could you release a guy that did that?
Maimonides writes, the Rambam writes that if by releasing, by making these trades, you're going to encourage further
Of course.
hostage taking in
How
the
long
future. You can't do it.
How long would it take for them to wind up civilians?
Yeah. Right. This is a story that's going to repeat itself
But why-
unless Hamas is totally
Well,
obliterated.
why is Bibi doing that?
You know, there are other carve-outs within the Rambam and within the Mishnah under what circumstances
care.
one could do it, but I don't know if this fits into
I'm
any
not
of
even
that.
talking about religion.
Yeah, politics.
Logic.
Yeah, logic.
Why would you, give up so much to get nothing?
And we don't even know who's still alive.
The sympathy I could understand.
Right.
And if it's like I told you, if it's my family, I'd say the hell with the country, I love the country, but at the same time, we're trading to get them back. Other families, thousands of families,
will suffer in the future.
Are sending 17 years old, 18-year-old, 20-year-old sons and daughters of theirs to fight and get killed.
Right. The lesson could be, Morty, is that when you have allowed, and I say that in quotation marks because there hasn't been a full investigation yet, but you need to make a deal with the devil when you've allowed this to happen on your border. When you have allowed the Nova Festival murder and massacre to take place.
You don't know who said
that. What?
Why do you have to make a deal with the devil?
No. I'm saying you're in no position. You don't have the upper hand. That's what I mean. So therefore, you have only two choices: obliterate them or make a bad deal.
I'm saying,
and they made a bad deal.
Obliterate them.
Yeah, I agree with you. They have one.
That's not a choice.
Yeah,
and initially that's what
they should have done.
Said.
Right.
He said, "We're going to decimate them. They're going to be gone, and we won't have that because it's like you said. Every time you do it, you have the same thing. 3 years later, 10 years later.
Right.
They don't.
How many times do we have to watch the same movie?
The guy who had the right idea was what was his name? They wouldn't let him vote. Mayor years ago.
Mayor Kahane?
Mayor Kahane.
Yeah.
Mayor Kahane. He said, wipe them out. A fait accompli. They can't change.
Right.
But if you let them live, they're going to be back again and again and again. And they said, oh, he's fanatic, he's this, he's that. He couldn't even run for office.
Right.
They thought he was so radical. If they did that one time, that would have been the end. They keep on living with that condition. And I'm writing a piece now, major Jews, brilliant Jews. Thomas Friedman, who writes for a guy I loved his writings, who writes op-ed pieces.
For the Times?
For the Times.
Yeah.
And the head of the foreign relations group, what's his name? Steve, anyway, Jewish guy that was, now he's emeritus. He's retired from it, but he's on MSNBC every day. And Blinken, Abraham Blinken.
Anthony Blinken.
Abraham Blinken. And you're right, Anthony.
You say Abraham
I'm just
Lincoln.
joking. I'm just joking.
I know.
Blinken is Jewish.
Right.
And another one who's a leading Jewish people says the solution at the beginning, at the very beginning, the only solution is give them a second state. They don't want a second state. In 75 years, they haven't shown the slightest gesture to indicate that they would want a state.
Clinton offered him 94%
Israel,
Arafat.
Israel's given him
no.
tons of. Israel settled with
Egypt.
With Egypt,
Jordan.
they've never had a problem, and gave them Sinai, a big piece of land. They with Lebanon, they had a dispute over some border.
The farms up there.
No, at the border.
In the Golan?
At the border, they had a dispute about certain land between the two of them. Israel, to avoid, a belligerent outcome of war. It gave it to them. They gave
And of course, they gave Gaza.
They gave Gaza without it. Not only gave Gaza, but they had Jewish Israeli citizens living
8,000 were
living there, who
uprooted.
had their businesses and
Right.
everything, and didn't want to
Agricultural.
leave. They wouldn't even
right.
let it. You could
They
turn
destroyed
it
it.
over to them and say
They destroyed
they
it.
got to. I have friends that a good friend that graduated from Harvard Business School. He became head of the World Bank. What was his name?
Jim Wolfenson.
Jim Wolfenson. So he and a group of guys gave $10 million to the Arabs that took over, Palestinians that took over, supposedly Palestinians, that took over Gaza. So I say, why the hell are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
He says, because we want them to have those businesses, the hot houses, to grow them.
Right, nothing.
So they'll be able to survive and won't. So they turned over $10 million. It didn't last a year. All the hot houses were gone. And Israel had to send in the IDF to kick out their own citizens who were embedded there. As
8,000 of them, I believe, was the number that were resettled, so to speak.
So they not only gave gestures, they gave so
tangible land
with every neighbor.
Yeah.
And Clinton said the most disappointing thing in his whole thing.
So the Arafat.
He said, what's his name? Who was the prime minister at the time? Rabin offered 95% of what they want. But they didn't even come back and say, the UN offered them their own territory. They never came back and said, look, if you give us so much more or so much. That was never the issue. They just, as the charter of the Hamas has in Gaza, the charter says their objective is not to get a little more land or get the land or anything. It's to wipe out Israel off the face of the map and to wipe out the Jewish people.
Right.
So how do you make a deal with somebody that, like you say, you got to deal with the devil? Of course, you always make peace with your enemy after they've killed yours but you can't even make a deal with them. The minute Clinton offered, or Rabin offered 95% what they want, Arafat didn't come back and say, well, if you just add this.
Give me 97%, we'll call it a day.
The next day, he left right away and started the Intifada. That was destroyed a lot of Israelis. So
they have no desire for coexistence. That's not their game plan.
Yeah.
And they'll keep delaying it and kicking it down the road.
But here are the bright Jewish leaders that say, and they keep repeating it even to this day, give them a state. You can't give them a state if that's not what they want.
Correct.
Are they dumb? Are they ridiculous?
I think they're afraid. They're afraid. You need a certain backbone.
No,
you need a certain backbone to tell them, we see you for what you are. It's no solution.
They'd still be afraid because they'll have a base from which to destroy.
Exactly. They want what it was common in another era in our history. They want not a two-state solution, but a final solution.
Bibi used to be a good friend of mine. Every time he came to the States, he came to my office with his security and everything. When I was in Israel, he invited me. He said, stop off at my office tomorrow.
Let's go talk to him. I want to talk to him.
No, I want to talk to him too.
I really do. I was in the car today.
So I thought he's going to spend 10 minutes at so I took me and my vice chairman and we went over. He kept me there 3.5 hours with his number one assistant, Dory Gold. He was very, interested in listening to alternative solutions, but then he went off the deep end.
I said that he had, after October 7th, he had a week to 10 days to do what needed to be done. And the minute he delayed it beyond that 1 week or 10 days, he then had to deal with world opinion.
Well,
and once you have to deal with world opinion, Israel can't win.
You can't deal with it.
You can't
let that influence you.
Right. But for a week or 10 days, the world would have been quiet.
As long as you give them,
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
Nobody could deal with a fait accompli. They can't. They could scream and yell, and how has it helped?
Right. Hamas is gone. Hamas is gone.
Israel says we announce we protect the children and we do everything. Does Israel get any credit for it? They're credited with killing infants and children and civilians.
Right. And what would have happened if Bibi, again, and I'm not talking from knowledge, and maybe there's a lot more behind the scenes that we don't know, but what would have happened if Bibi would have said, listen, here's the deal. This is not going to happen over 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. You're going to give us back every single hostage. If you would have said this on day one, you're going to give us back every single hostage or else, and finish the sentence. Don't just talk and say or else, like one of our former presidents said, don't. And we know what happened when he said don't, right? Iran did. So if Bibi would have said right away, listen, guys, 1 week or 3 days, return all the hostages or there's no more Gaza. But when you just let it fester for a year and a half, 2 years, a year and a half to be more accurate, you're dealing with a whole new set of circumstances.
Not only that, they make a deal. They're going to return them 3 at a time over a 4-month period or something, 3-month period. What kind of thing is that?
Right.
Either you got to return them right away. This week, they returned 3 in terrible shape.
Emaciated
and Israel
souls.
turned over 893. What kind of thing is that? I don't know. I understand the arithmetic. I don't know. Israel's supposed to be bright,
Right.
That's not bright.
They'll say, well, one of ours is worth 800 of yours. Okay, that's nice math, but it's not going to get the job done.
No, even if you say that.
Even if you say that, correct.
You're not. It's not.
But you don't want one. You want 250.
No, it's not that. If that was the end, you might make that argument.
Right.
But that 893 is going to kill far more than the number of hostages you're getting back.
That's right.
You can't accommodate the hostages. I understand them screaming that. That's their kids. But you can't sacrifice the nation for.
Right.
And the hostages are holding the country hostage.
Well, this is what the Rambam writes. This is what Maimonides writes.
What does he write?
He writes that you cannot endanger the masses to get back individuals, no matter how many individuals we're talking about. You have to look at the mass. You have to look at society. And who are you releasing and what's going to be the end of the story? And we know the end of the story. We've seen this movie before.
How does a bright guy like Bibi, who's on the ball, and, Nader saying, obviously Israel is the bad one, the devil, because they're the ones that are killing innocent citizens. If they took that view, the United States and England killed a lot more Germans and Japanese. The United States bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, all civilians. There was no military there. And, people today second guess that, but they wanted it. And their losses.
Morty, you have to want to win more than you're afraid to lose. When you want to win more than you're afraid to lose, you win.
And when you win,
and there is no more enemy.
And when you win, you have to do what the United States and England said. We won't do anything but unconditional surrender. Unconditional.
Right, and now Trump has given Bibi some rope. Trump yesterday, when he said if those hostages are not back, all of them are not back by noon on Saturday, all hell's going to break loose. And Bibi, if you looked at his words, he said if they don't return, I agree with President Trump, if the hostages, he didn't say all the hostages, Bibi said the hostages, which gives him cover to say, well, I meant the 9 that they were supposed to release that day, that Saturday.
No, but it's last Saturday night when he saw the condition that they were returned in. He says he's going to start the whole war all over again.
I read Bibi's statement and I read Trump's statement. Trump's statement was all the hostages, and Bibi's statement was the hostages. And I'm telling you, there's a difference. The hostages, Bibi can always say, well, I meant the 9 that they were supposed to release that Saturday. You'll see. We'll see on Saturday what happens at noon. I don't have my hopes up. I don't think all of the hostages are going to be released.
They said that Hamas said they're not releasing any this Saturday.
Right, but it's possible that Hamas now will be pushed against the corner and they'll release those 9. But that's not what Trump said. Trump said all the hostages. He goes, we cannot have them released in dribs and drabs and 2 and 3 and 4.
But if they take that position Saturday, they're not returning them. Right away, they broke the deal.
I agree with you, but let's see what happens.
But he became so wimpy.
I don't know. There must be.
The only thing I thought maybe, and why they agreed to a ceasefire, maybe, and I'm not aware of it, but they looked like they were winning all over. Maybe he felt they were losing.
Bibi thought they were losing?
They couldn't handle it. We don't know.
Maybe he went. Maybe there were too many funerals that he had to go to for soldiers.
That doesn't matter. Every country has that.
I get it, but
war is with what.
I understand that, but when you have knocks on your door every hour, no.
That's again the families that lose.
Yeah.
During the Vietnam War, people lost their kids and they were drafted and they still had to send them.
I know, but there's a different dynamic. The Jewish state has a different dynamic because Bibi, each soldier is like a son to him. Each soldier is like a daughter to him.
But
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right.
The other soldiers that he's sending.
You're right.
Right.
It's not easy.
That's bullshit.
It
shows how valuable because we give back $793 for 3. So you see how we love our people in that. What are you talking about?
I agree with you. We need to be stronger. We should have taken a position from day one.
No, it's not an equation that makes sense.
Right. Not politically, not religiously.
It shows we love our more than that.
I agree with you.
We love and we sacrifice.
Morty,
I want to thank you so much. You weren't hard on me today. How come?
Nah, when I'm getting older. I'm still younger than you, but I'm getting older.
The lawyer part of you didn't come out. The rabbinical part did. Rabbinical part is warm, sensitive, caring, non-confrontational.
You need to stop drinking during the day. I'll come back later and abuse you if you want.
But the lawyer part of it.
Well, we can have great legal discussions one day as well. We live across the street from each other. We can hang out a lot. Okay?
How does that joke go? I can't tell that joke.
No.
About lawyers?
No jokes about lawyers. Okay, Morty, it's great to see you again.
Look, I have a lot of lawyers in my family, so I could. 3 of my daughters are lawyers. 3 of my son-in-laws are lawyers.
But it was great to see you. All the best.
Bye.
Okay. I love you.
I'm sorry to corrupt you.
No. I've been thoroughly corrupted earlier in life. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you.
All the best.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Wasn't he great?